Hey, it's Tuesday, and the wise guys are here, and you might be saying, what is taking you guys so long? It takes 7 days. It's Tuesday, and then a whole nother 7 days, and now we're back.
Yep.
And there's a lot going on tonight. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler, we're the wise guys, and we're glad to have you settling in with us and also listening on the podcast.
Yep. Thanks for joining us. And remember, follow us on YouTube. We're going to put the link in the chat so you know where to go. Hit the subscribe button because it's free. Click on the bell. You'll get notifications whenever we post something new or when we go live. Hey, the more subscribers we get, the longer we can do this show.
Yeah, so, our wives will let us do that. They think
when we go home, they go like, how many people were on with you tonight and how many downloads of the podcast and how many this? Because if it doesn't increase, they yank us off the show.
Yeah, because, a lot of people do like Tuesday night Bible studies and stuff, and sometimes they might think we're actually at one of those, and we're over here.
Yeah,
so it's important for us to rationalize.
So, and follow us on Twitch as well. And there's no reason why you can't do both because it's free. So follow us on Twitch. To make your free account, you click on the chat button on the lower right of the screen. You sign up for free and follow us. We'd love to have you follow us on both platforms.
We've done our research, and we've determined that free is everyone's favorite price.
Yep. If it's free, it's for me, and I'll take three. That's our theme. Vi Sikahema taught me that way back in school.
If it's free, it's for me, I'll take three.
Yeah, that's Vi's theme when we were in school. If it's free, it's for me, I'll take three. This was his theme back in school.
Let's jump in.
It's still Vi's theme right now.
I think you're right. We've had lunch with him, and I'm pretty sure he still follows those same principles.
Yes.
BYU beats Utah Tech 52-26. They're bowl eligible for the sixth time in Kalani Sitake's 7 seasons. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we got former Cougar receiver Ben Cahoon, who is joining us in just a few minutes with his breakdown of Puka Nakua's game. So one of the greatest receivers in the history of BYU. In my opinion, and in everybody's opinion, the greatest receiver in the history of the Canadian Football League.
Absolutely.
So he's in a good position to talk to us about about Puka Nakua's skill set. And is he ready for the NFL?
Yeah, and Ben doesn't like it really when we say he's the best, but deep down inside, I think he likes it when we do say that.
No, here's the thing. It drives me nuts when Ben knows he's the best, and he acts all like, no, you guys, come on, I'm not the best.
Yeah, well, we're going to get that out of him tonight.
But we know, like it's evidence-based.
Yeah.
It's evidence-based. He's the best receiver in the history of Canadian football.
Most of what we do on this show is true.
Right.
And that part is especially.
And the Grey Cup was just this weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was watching. They had like a big pregame show and everything.
He's got 3 Grey Cups. It looks like he didn't bring one of them with him.
Yeah.
So they must be at the house. We're going to talk about Canadian rules and some of that stuff.
Yep.
BYU Stanford season finale Saturday night at Stanford. We'll look at the quarterback matchup between 2 Latter-day Saint missionaries going at each other on national TV for the very first time. 2 guys who took 2 years off of their lives, then get back to football, recruited by BYU, and I think that's going to be cool to watch.
It's really cool. We'll talk about that. Hey, back when I played, it seemed like a well-known fact that you couldn't go on a mission and come back and play quarterback at BYU.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen.
And certainly couldn't go to the NFL.
It had never happened. And somebody had to break that glass ceiling. We had that guy on the show. It was Brandon Doman was the first guy that was like an all-conference national attention that actually went into the league. So that was a long time after me, and it wasn't until Brandon did that others thought they could do it. But these 2 guys are really showing that you can go out and do it and be really, really good.
It's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, pretty fun. We'll be rooting for Tanner to do well, but not well enough to beat BYU.
Right.
So,
we've got our priorities.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to have Ken Lund, our California North Region Alumni Chapter Director, join us here. And he's going to fill us in on all the activities surrounding the game this weekend.
Expecting a huge crowd.
Oh, big crowd of Cougars. We've been calling it a Cougar, it's going to be a Cougar takeover in Stanford Stadium.
It could be kind of like Las Vegas back at the old Sam Boyd Stadium when the Cougars would come.
Love it.
And I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. BYU TV basketball analyst Tyler Haws going to join us. The Cougars start the battle for Atlantis tomorrow in the Bahamas. He'll join us via Zoom. We're also going to ask him, in a free throw contest between him and his former teammate Jimmer Fredette, who would win?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's coming.
See, I'm glad you didn't make a 3-point contest.
No, we went right to the free throw.
You went to the free throw line because I actually might. I think I'm going to put my money on Tyler.
I think so too. Let's see what he says.
All right, that'll be interesting. And maybe we should see if Ben Cahoon could beat him at free throws too.
We're going to ask Ben Cahoon about showdowns with his father-in-law, Governor Gary Herbert.
Yes.
We got our own set of questions for that.
Okay, and we're going to give you some updates from the NCAA cross country and the women's soccer, both on the national level, competing this last week. We'll give you updates on how they fared.
And how about tonight? Volleyball getting ready for the match of the year at the Smith Fieldhouse. That's after we're done. We're like a pregame show.
Right.
It's 8 o'clock local time. The Toreros are number 2 in the country. BYU's number 18. Usually that's reversed.
Is that on BYU TV or somebody else?
ESPN 2.
So ESPN 2 is in the Smith Fieldhouse carrying that game.
Yeah.
That's
coming up tonight after the show.
That's pretty awesome.
All right, our headlines: BYU bowl eligible, 6-5 now with a game to go. They are guaranteed to be placed in one of ESPN's 17 bowl games. Which one do you think it'll be and when?
I was thinking it was the Mobile, Alabama Bowl, which would be okay with me because it's the port city down there on the coast of Alabama. Really neat southern city with a lot of history. I think that'd be good. I've heard Frisco Bowl in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I think for the players, hey, if you're not in the New Year's Six Bowl, the players, I remember this, and Ben can verify with me when he gets on, you wanted to play before Christmas. If you're not in the New Year's Six Bowl, you want to play before Christmas. And those bowls I just mentioned are before Christmas. And so I've heard the New Mexico Bowl as well, which is also before Christmas. So if you're not in a New Year's Six Bowl, then you might as well play before Christmas so you can go have a great bowl experience, play in a great place, win a game, and then go spend time with your family over the Christmas vacation. So I'm with the players on this one.
Yeah.
So
can you? I can't see Ben from here. Can you? Did he bring his Cotton Bowl championship ring?
See,
do you
now
see anything?
There's
no Grey Cups or Cotton Bowl
was
championship
New
ring?
Year's Day Bowl, right? That's why you go the Cotton Bowl. You go
on CBS,
right? If you're in the Cotton Bowl, you go. If you're not in the Cotton Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl or one of those, then you try to find one that happens before Christmas so you can be with your family for Christmas.
Hey,
Am I right, Ben? Am I right? He agrees.
Thanks,
there you
Ben. Red alert! Big 12 football schedule. It's ready to come out.
Yeah, December 1st, and we'll see who BYU is going to host. I'm just so hopeful that we get Oklahoma in Lavelle Edwards the very first year.
Or Texas.
We've had Texas.
I know, but it would be nice to see them again.
It'd be great to have them there. I want
But you're right.
Oklahoma in year 1, and I want Texas in year 2, and then they can go to the SEC. And
Athletic Director Tom Holmoe said that on game day that he knows which teams are coming. Mm-hmm. He knows where BYU's going. Still waiting on dates, but he said, hey, look, it's coming out December 1st. We got to get all those details done. He goes, so he likes what he sees.
He likes what he sees.
And that's the first person that we know that said,
but I like what
I've seen it.
Okay. Hey, how about BYU and Stanford coming up this weekend? It wraps up the regular season. It's Saturday night. Like, we go on the air with a pregame show local time here in Utah because we'll be in studio. We'll have Spencer and Dave Nixon in the stadium at Stanford. Yeah. But that game kicks off at 8 local time in Palo Alto on the West Coast.
That's 9 here.
9 o'clock here Mountain.
Our friends in New York?
11 p.m. in New York. We'll go on the air at 6 p.m. here, right?
7 p.m.
Oh, 7 p.m. No.
Yeah, because the game's at 9 p.m. local time.
Man.
So then you figure it's going to be over
late.
around 1.
I'm already tired. I can't
and then we're doing
think.
the post-game show.
Yeah, 7 p.m. What time are we going to get off the air Sunday morning?
I don't know,
1:30 a.m.?
I do love the fact that we're not on the Pac-12 network. It's on FS1. Everyone gets FS1 if you got cable.
Yep.
So you have access to the game. You have access to us before and afterwards. And, yeah, it's going to be late. So, look, watch your turkey sandwich stuff because you eat turkey, you get tired.
Yeah,
you wipe turkey off the menu for Saturday.
So if you've had the turkey on Thursday, eat all the leftovers on Friday. By Saturday, don't eat that stuff. That tryptophan will put you to sleep. You won't stay up for the game.
No, we can't be messing around. There's a whole bunch of great games on Saturday, and this is the very latest one in all of college football.
BYU on a 6-5 now, as you mentioned, but they're on a 2-game winning streak. Stanford is 3-8, and they're on a 4-game losing streak. Cal beat them 27-20 on Saturday. They had a double-digit lead in that game and let Cal come back. They lost it on a fumble return for a touchdown. Stanford is 124th in the country in turnover margin. They just keep giving the ball away.
Yeah, they're not very good. And they were 3-9 last year, so that's two really different
let me tell you something
years.
That's really
but they're big.
What's really putting pressure on them is that in the Pac-12, in the last 16 games, they're 1-15.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of pressure on that group over there. But here's the thing. They have athletes. They're big and physical. They've struggled because they've had they're on their 5th running back right now. And at the beginning of the season, that running back that's their starting running back the last 3 games was playing strong safety, and they've moved him over to running back. And Stanford's a program built around punishing run game and play action pass. It's been really a difficult year this year for them. But they're physical, and they're big, and they'll play solid defense, and they're smart, and They they turn the ball over, but they don't get penalized because they're pretty disciplined in that way. This is not just a walkover. You know what my biggest fear is? The BYU players watch the film and go,
"Oh, we're going to kill
these guys aren't very good."
Yeah.
Because if you just watch the film, like I was watching the film going, "Ooh,
these guys aren't very good."
Aren't very good. And then you got to realize that they're big, strong, and physical. And if you don't show up,
or you fumble, you give them the ball, they'll score.
Ask Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Ask Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame watched them on film and said, "Man, these guys aren't very good this year. Our rivals, that's one of their rivals. Notre Dame's, they're not very good." And they showed up, and Stanford physically beat them up.
They got killed at Utah, but it was 14-7 at halftime, and they had chances. You're like, they can't be that bad.
Turnovers killed them in that game. So if they take care of the ball, they can be a little more scary. So I'm just hopeful that this staff and these players can look at this and go, "Hey, we can't take anything for granted this year, and got to come and play with great execution." We in our AFR show today, if you guys didn't get a chance to watch it, go back and watch it. But in terms of assignments, BYU was so much better the last couple weeks, especially on defense. Like, their run fits were correct, their leverage was correct. They had 2 blown coverages in the secondary, which cost them points. But I've been most concerned about their run fits on defense of anything, and they were really good the last 2 weeks. So that's promising going into this game.
Interesting matchup with the 2 quarterbacks, both BYU recruits. One came here, and the other one went to Stanford, talking about Jaron Hall and Tanner McKee. Hall served his mission in California, and McKee served it in Brazil. I wrote a story in the Deseret News about the historic showdown of these 2 guys on national TV going after each other. 2 RMs battling it out Saturday night, which I think makes it kind of cool. And then we looked at their numbers today in comparison with their careers. Hall's won a lot more games, but it's interesting. McKee's thrown 1 more pass.
Yeah, and he's thrown 1 more pass, which is unusual at Stanford. But especially in the last 4 games with all these running backs down, Tanner McKee's had to carry this team. Like, they've just had to throw it almost every down. He's coming off of a game that the one that lost to Cal where he was 29 of 45. He threw 45 balls. Stanford quarterbacks don't. Like, even when Luck was there and they were ranked in the top 3 and winning Rose Bowls, he wasn't throwing the ball 45 times.
No, he's handed it to McCaffrey.
And he wasn't asked to carry the team.
Yeah.
You've always had guys at quarterback that were really good game manager, NFL talent guys, but they didn't have to carry the team. The running game carried the team. This is such a different philosophy for Stanford by necessity. And so
Hall's thrown for completed 19 more passes for over 1,000 more yards and for 23 more touchdowns. But what's interesting to me is in their mobility, McKee is a big 6'6" guy, doesn't love to run.
Pocket passer.
130 rushes, minus 83 yards, but still 6 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Hall has 179 rushes for 729 positive yards and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, so you and remember, they're taking away sacks from that. Now, Hall hasn't been sacked a bunch this year. BYU's offensive line.
And McKee has been.
While there have been times I haven't felt great about their run blocking, and maybe that's more of a running back problem than an offensive line problem, their pass protection's been stellar all year. And so McKee's not as stellar. He gets the ball out. But both of them have NFL aspirations, and both of them are they're both juniors, but you see them on all of the draft boards where they're talking about, whether they're a late rounder, they talk about both Tanner McKee and Jaron Hall as NFL prospects. So 2 talented return missionaries. Jaron Hall's 5-1 against the Pac-12. Right?
He's got 2 more wins than McKee.
Right.
In the Pac-12.
And McKee's played a bunch more games in the Pac-12. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. Chris Brooks going to be back in old stomping grounds, reuniting. He was a Cal Bear. Now he's going to go back and play. Right. He's going to play the big game again.
He's playing his rival.
Only for BYU. Yeah. And Stanford is the only Pac-12 school BYU has never defeated.
Right. They've only played twice, right? So Stanford's 2-0 against BYU. 2003 in Provo and 2004 at Stanford. Yeah, that's interesting. So, Unis, what are we going to see this week?
Remember how sharp they looked last Thanksgiving against USC?
Yeah, the royal bottoms, the white tops with the royal trim and letters, and the royal helmets.
Royal hat. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
That'll go great against the Cardinal red. Mm-hmm. Weather for an 8 p.m. start in Palo Alto, clear skies. The high of the day is around 65 degrees. The low is 45, so somewhere in between there.
Yeah, nice.
When we get going with light wind, which is going to be nice. Let's move our man into
You come on over, Ben.
Our first guest tonight is the most decorated former BYU football player to ever suit up in the Canadian Football League. Former Ricks College and BYU star. BYU from 1995 to 1997. He played 13 seasons for Montreal, won 3 Grey Cups. In 2014, he was inducted into the CFL Hall of Fame. A pleasure to welcome the great Ben Cahoon to the Wise Guys. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be with you guys.
We're glad you're here.
We're not just glad to have him here because he's a great player, though, because Ben's one of our guys. So we love Ben. He's a good friend of ours, and we're so glad to have him here.
Listen, when you stepped onto the Canadian football field for the first time, what did you think? I mean, it seems like it's completely different from our football fields.
Yeah, the game itself is similar. Once you get lined up, you're just trying to beat the guy in front of you. But the field is bigger, it's wider, it's longer. There's a 55-yard line. That does not
doesn't seem right.
You played your whole life. You played at Mountain View High School and BYU, and then you go up there and there's a 55-yard line.
Yeah, that'll throw you off.
And how much? And it's quite a bit wider, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it's 10 or 11 yards wider. The outside receiver is so far away from, and that's where I started my career, is the outside receiver.
You're a mile away from the quarterback.
You're so far away from the quarterback that you don't get a lot of action, actually.
Unless inside breaking routes, right? Or,
yeah, exactly.
And then, so it's still 100 yards in length.
It's actually
right?
110.
Or 110 because of the 50-yard.
Yeah.
And then the goalposts they're not in the back of the end zone. They're right there in the front, right?
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah,
why is
picking game's a bigger
hoping
part of the
it
game.
catches on down here.
How come they still do that?
So,
it seems like it's a hazard. Isn't that why the NFL and everybody moved them out of the field of play? And then the Canadian League is sitting right there in the middle. Did you ever run into the goalposts?
I did not, but I ran plenty of guys into them.
I used it as a pick.
We were watching the Grey Cup this weekend, and I'm sure that's the timing of my being on your show.
Right on.
Lines up with that. Thank you. But I was asked that question. I don't know the reason why they're up there, but the end zones are 20 yards deep, and it allows for a lot of kick return, missed field goal returns out of the end zone. It's pretty exciting.
Is that why they do it?
Well,
yeah.
and here's the other thing that's interesting. And I went up and worked out for the I worked out for Calgary and I worked out for Toronto. I ended up signing the USFL. I should have gone up there to go up and play up there, but signed in the USFL, and then that league folded, and that just caused me all kinds of problems. But when I was up there working out and we were working with full receiver groups, I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that the receivers could be running full speed toward the line of scrimmage, multiple in motion at the same time. How does that work?
Yeah, we're doing the three-man weave behind the line of scrimmage before the snap. It's awesome.
And when you have a deeper end zone, we always talk about throwing teams. So these air raid teams in college football, Mike Leach type offenses, is they get down. When you almost don't want to have a first and goal at the 8 because the end zone's only 10 yards deep, and so the defenders can just sit because nobody's going to run by them. And it's really easy to defend that 10 yards. So teams that don't run it really well down there have a harder time. The windows are really smaller. Having a 20-yard end zone makes it easier to throw the football down on the goal line, right?
Yeah, all your routes are in play. When you're even on the 1-yard line, you can still run fades. You can still run posts and post corners and so forth. So it opens things up a lot.
So you go up there, and when you're fast and you're really good, and then you look at the field, which now favors someone fast and really good, and you look at somebody trying to defend you over this giant piece of real estate, and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way this guy's guarding me. I can do too many moves over here.
Well, you're generous to call me fast. I was always more quick than
Shifty?
fast, but shifty probably is accurate. But the motion played, was a real advantage for me because I could start running a route 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage and start setting a guy up. And that was always one of my skills, was just kind of manipulating a defensive back. And in the CFL, I had more time to do that.
Now, we should point out, we'll talk in a moment, no one caught more passes than Ben Cahoon, except for one guy who's caught 2 more since you retired in the history of the league.
When you left the league, you were the all-time leading receiver in CFL history, right?
Yeah.
And then, so this guy, who we don't like at all.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I know he has a terrible family.
I don't remember. It's G-Roy Simon.
So G-Roy Simon, who is not the player that Ben is, did he play longer than you in the league?
He did.
See, that's not right. He played 2 years longer to get 2 more passes. So here's the question. would your former team let you come back just for one game and throw you 3 screens so that you could get the record back? Would they let you if you called and said, "Hey, let's get the record
Montreal,
back. Let's do a big promotion. I'm gonna come back. I will suit up. Let's just throw me 3 screens. I won't get hurt, and I'll own the record again." Would they do that?
I think they would. It might not be wise.
They worship you up there.
It might not be wise, but
You think they would do it?
Would your wife?
Oh my gosh! I will call them right now.
You got
You tell me
1,017.
who to call. I will call. We will make this.
You got 1,017 receptions. So you'd need to get to 1,020.
Yeah, just get a 1,020.
Would Kim let you do that?
oh, she'd be ecstatic. Yeah,
She would do it?
absolutely.
So we've cleared two of the biggest hurdles. The team says yes, and your wife says yes.
I think Kim thinks in her mind, if I were to go back and play football, I'd really be cool and manly like I used to be. And so that's probably not
Listen,
going to
this
happen.
is something to think about because usually it's the wife that says absolutely not. Those days are over.
And here's the thing.
the organization's like, we're not doing that.
We got a chance.
We got a chance.
They could do this. I think we need to make some phone calls. It's Montreal, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we can make some calls and see if we can work. I will be your agent, and we're going to get you that record back.
I think we could do that.
Here's the thing I want to make very clear, too. So we've already established, so Dave with Diane, Brenda with me. Anybody that sees us together with our spouses, they're like, okay, you guys are tricky. You're resourceful. You know how to trick people. You can sell all of this. If you see Ben with Kim, you will recognize that he also way outkicked his coverage.
I've seen pictures.
Beyond
I think you're right.
shadow of a doubt, he way outkicked his coverage.
Absolutely.
But that's somehow we figured out how to do that. Do you think it's the whole Manly I played football thing that allowed us to do
I don't know. I didn't play football.
But he was a big TV star from an early age.
I was that back in the day.
So Kim is great, by the way. I know that Ben would agree with that.
We got a lot
She's
of
a football
problems.
fan.
Yes, she is.
We have a lot of problems with your father-in-law. We'll talk about in just a little bit.
Okay.
But Kim, we're all good with. We're visiting with former BYU receiver Ben Cahoon on the Wise Guys. Back-to-back seasons, 2002, 2003. Honored as the CFL's most outstanding Canadian award recipient. Nice job. Not everyone gets that. In fact, we don't know anyone else who has won that.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. What is the talent difference between the Canadian Football League at its best and the National Football League, which everyone here is so overexposed to?
There's definitely a talent level difference, but it's good football. Most of the guys on the team, they were captains of their university. You know, they played big-time university ball at Ohio State or at Clemson or Florida State. They were all conference. They just didn't make the NFL, or they played in the NFL for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Were kind of salary casualties, so they came up to Canada to keep playing, acquiring some game film to get back to the NFL. The guy we talked about, G. Roy Simon, who has the record, he and I were in training camp together at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
And, all the guys up there are good football players. Just, either just got cut, got released, or got injured. They're, trying to get back down south.
And do they all, it's like every college kid wants to go to the show. The Canadian football players, are they all looking for a way back into the NFL, or are they just good?
A lot of them are. I mean, we had a guy, Andre Rison came up there for a year. Jaquez Green, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He came up there for a little bit.
Was Doug Flutie, who was more my age, but he wasn't up there when you started to play, was
Just
he?
missed him. He was there the previous year.
So he had come back down after that. Yeah. Okay.
I called a Canadian football game. Remember when Vegas had a team in the CFL?
Yeah.
And we went up there and we aired some of their games on Channel 8, our station, and so we went up to British Columbia to play a game. It's the only time I've ever been in Canada, and it was just it was fascinating. And then we came home. That was it.
Was
and
it
it
in
wasn't
the dome?
long. No, I don't think it was in a dome. But it was a cool stadium. They are deeply invested in their
this
football.
Week's Grey Cup wasn't in a dome.
No.
It surprised me. I'm like, this time of year in Canada, not in a dome?
In Saskatchewan.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, I'm like, where's the sled dogs? I felt like, but you know what? It was kind of a cool event.
You see all the news about Buffalo. They had 5 feet of snow,
Buffalo's
and
way
then
worse.
they had to move the game. I mean, that would not have happened in Canada.
They would have just played.
We would have played.
Yep.
Where would you put the snow? I was looking at those Buffalo pictures. I'm like, it's one thing to clear the field, but then where do you put it? Because everything else is buried in 5 feet of snow, and then the parking lot and the streets. I don't know if they even had a shot. But you're saying the Canadians would have played on.
I have watched them clear the stadium with 3 feet of snow on it, and it's a thing of beauty to see. They have a system.
And the fans, they just embrace it. It's like, we're from Saskatchewan. Of course we're going to the game.
Yep.
This doesn't bother us.
Yeah. We had 55,000 at the game the other day. It was cold.
Yeah.
Here in Provo, but we didn't have any snow or any of that stuff.
You just have to embrace it. So that was a pretty good game, this Grey Cup game. And I knew you were coming with this week, and I was like, I haven't watched a Grey Cup game in a while. So I actually watched the game, and I thought it was cool. I mean, it was treated like a Super Bowl. Big time, recording artists with Canadian roots performed in the pregame, and they had flyovers, and like it was. And you played in 3, right?
I played in 8.
Oh, you played
won
in 8.
3.
You won
3. Yeah.
So you played in 8. What's that experience like to play in a Grey Cup?
Well, most of the time it's cold, but it is amazing. It's big time, and that's what you work for 12 months out of the year. And even though the CFL is a small league, the Grey Cup Championship is pretty elusive. And like we were there 8 times and only won 3.
Yeah.
So, but it's as big as it gets down there, and the parties afterwards are crazy.
That's awesome.
It seemed like they tried an American expansion, and then they've all gone back. It seemed like there was a handful of teams down here, Vegas being one of them, and then it seemed like there were a couple in the South. And everyone's still trying to tap into the love of the NFL, whether it's the XFL or the EuroLeague or USFL. And then they seem to have retreated back to like, you know what, we're the Canadian Football League.
What's interesting is most of those teams, or most of those cities where there's CFL's teams, now they're NFL teams. Baltimore had a team.
Vegas.
They got it kind of. So I think the NFL kind of pushed them back into
almost purposely. We're going to put teams in these markets.
Yeah.
People sometimes will say to me, like when there's a really bad team in the NFL, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm telling you, Clemson this year could beat the Cleveland Browns," and I go, "No, they cannot. The worst team in the NFL would kill Clemson or Alabama or this year Georgia, to kill them." And people say, "Oh, a really good college team. Couldn't a really good college team compete in the CFL?" They couldn't, right? Like a good, like let's just say Notre Dame goes up there, and Notre Dame's a bad example. They're not that great this year, but
let's say Georgia goes up there.
If Georgia went up to the CFL, how would they compete against a CFL team?
That's tough. It's going to depend on if they play with CFL rules.
Yeah, now let's say this. If they played CFL rules, Georgia might be in big trouble, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I think it'd be a good game. But like I said, every player on the CFL roster is an all-star.
Yeah.
It was all conference.
They played at Georgia and at Clemson and at Alabama and at all those schools.
A lot did. We had Lawrence Phillips was our running back for a year or two up there.
From Nebraska.
We had Robert Edwards, who was, NFL Rookie of the Year. So we had some dudes for sure. And every year there were 3 or 4 guys from every roster that went down and got back on NFL rosters.
Cool.
It's good stuff.
Well, you had some cool things happen to you with BYU, first as a player and second as a receivers coach. So the 1996 Cotton Bowl team, 14-1, most wins in school history in a season. Do you think that team could beat Blaine's 1984 national championship team? It's just us 3 talking. What do you think?
I have not thought about that before.
Well, let's think about it.
How was your strength of schedule? Because we ended up playing like 5 or 6.
Yeah, no, you guys had a better strength of schedule. And here's what people don't understand about the 84 team. We were good on offense. We were always good on offense back in those days, and we were like pioneers in throwing the football. But our defense was lights out. We turned the ball over 6 times against Michigan in the Holiday Bowl and won. And off of that defense, you had Kurt Govea, who played like 15 seasons in the National Football League as a starter, an all-Madden team guy. You had Leon White, who started 9 seasons at the other outside backer and was a starter in the Super Bowl. You Marv Allen and Kerry Whittingham were both NFL-type guys. Marv went to medical school. Kerry played a couple of years in the league. Kyle Morrell was starting with the Minnesota Vikings as a rookie at free safety before he blew his knee out. And so that defense was just stacked with a bunch of NFL guys. And then you had young Sean Knight and young Jason Buck and those guys on that were NFL guys.
Are you ready to counter with your defense?
Our defense was – no, what I'm saying is people just think that old BYU teams are great on offense. The strength of 84 was the defense.
Yeah, and he had nail-biters in 84.
The 83 team, Steve Young's team, they were probably better than us offensively. Jim McMahon's 1980 team, better than us offensively. I think you guys may have been better than us offensively in 96. I think it'd be a great battle. You had Omar and Tim and all those guys. Like, who were some of those guys on that D that you played with?
We had a strong defense, but we didn't have, Hall of Fame NFL guys. Like, sounds like you guys had, but we had Shea Muirbrook.
Tackling machine.
Brad Martin. We had Omar and Tim.
Yeah. 2 NFL
Eddie
corners,
Sampson.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a Henry Bloomfield.
Big physical dude.
In the middle of the line. So we had some guys.
Yeah, you had some guys on D. But you guys were elite on offense.
We had those NFL type guys.
Yeah.
Chad Lewis.
You had Chad and Tula and you and
ground game, your quarterback.
Who else did we have at receiver that year? Was that a Kaipo?
McGuire, Kale Louie.
Yeah.
We had Ronnie Jenkins, Brian McKenzie.
Yeah, and Ronnie played in the NFL.
And then on special teams, you had James Dye.
Yeah.
Would James Dye? Does James Dye on special teams? Is that the tiebreaker that shifts? Your team would have beaten his team.
He was a game breaker.
Yeah, he was. I remember.
I think so.
We were up doing an interview with Ronnie Mack before the Utah game, and somebody asked the question like, "Are you gonna punt the ball to James Dye?" And Ronnie Mack's the guy that said, "Are you serious? You punt, you die. Everybody knows that. We're not punting it to him." Like when the other coach before the game just tells you, "No, we're not punting it to him." You know that dude's elite, right? So he was amazing. People ask me about that all the time. I'm like, it would be a really good matchup because it'd be a matchup of strengths. The 96 offense was so elite with talent, and the 84 defense was so elite with talent. That'd be one of those matchups of great strength. That'd be a fun game.
So let's say the final score is 34-31.
Oh,
did your team win?
I think so. We should replicate this.
96.
With the
Can we do it on the computer?
The alumni game
in the spring. We should do the 84 against 96.
The problem is Robbie.
My money would be on you guys.
No, hey, that's like, I don't know how many years ago. Enough years ago that I was still in decent shape, but we did an alumni game where a bunch of us from BYU played a bunch of guys from the U. Did you play with me in that? I don't think you did.
I don't think so.
It was a big fundraiser for like the Roadhouse or Ronald McDonald House in Salt Lake, and we did it at Highland High School. It was sold out. I did have one secret weapon. Sean Bradley was one of my wide receivers. We brought him in when we got into the red zone. I threw him like an 11-foot high pass, and he just got up on his toes and got it.
Brilliant.
But it was Brian Johnson and a bunch of guys from the Sugar Bowl team, and they were all 15 years younger than us, and it just wasn't fair.
Yeah, I'm going with 96 on that one.
You're going to go 96?
I'm going with 96.
An alumni game right now, I'm going with 96
because
too.
James Dye, I think he's the
difference
maker on that.
Who was the kicker on yours?
Do you know, more importantly, who was the backup to James Dye?
You were.
That's right.
Are you saying that he hogged all the opportunities?
No, I'm not actually. I think he gave me plenty of opportunities.
Oh, he did?
He would break one or two.
Then
and
take it off?
Yeah,
Did he
then
give him
he'd
the
be
rest?
like, my hamstrings not tight.
But here's the thing.
I don't want
Nice.
to screw up the average.
It's good to have good friends.
While Ben may have been the backup to James returning punts, James was the backup to Ben at receiver.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
That is true.
Yeah.
He would come in and rotate in for you once in a while.
Here's another cool moment.
That's one of the best receiving corps ever at BYU, though. Those ones that we just mentioned. But with you, and when I consider tight ends receivers, right? When you take you, KO, Kaipo, Chad, and Atula, are you kidding me?
When you add the tight ends, that becomes a pretty formidable
Boy,
group.
that was why that group went 14-1.
I would challenge any of our people watching to give me a group of receivers better than that group. That's about as good as I can remember. That's a really good group. I mean, we had Glenn Kozlowski, Mark Bellini, who both played in the NFL. And we're great. Adam Haysbert, who was a short-term NFL guy. But Glenn and Mark were in the league for a little while. But I mean, the depth of that, if you take it across the board, that's...
This current group that BYU has great potential to be
because the youngins are
down there.
really good right now.
Once Cody Epps, just a freshman. Chase Roberts, a freshman. Then you got Cosper coming back. Keanu Hill's just a sophomore.
This young group is really, really good. And when you had Puka and Gunner both healthy,
which we've never had.
Pretty formidable.
Yeah.
Formidable group. And Isaac's not healthy either at tight end. He hasn't been all year. But he's coming back next year and he'll be healthy. This is a pretty talented group right now.
So you had a good night against Arizona State back in the day. Still ranked 9th all-time at BYU with 219 receiving yards. Could they just not cover you that night?
It was more just scramble drill. Kevin Federick was running for his life and just throwing them up. Honestly, that was it. My daughter, my first child, was born 3 days prior to that game.
Yeah.
So and ASU happened to always be my favorite stadium.
Oh,
it was just
wow.
kind of magical. That turf down there was ridiculous.
It was like
so
real, but it was just like
Sun Devil Stadium.
it was
right?
like a golf course
Yeah.
fairway, just trimmed so tight. But that was a special game just for all those reasons, and turned out that the stars were aligned, had a big game.
When you have a 200-yard game, I mean, football's brutal, and you guys that play it, it's just nuts. But when you walk off the field after a 200-yard game, are you just jacked up, or are you doubly exhausted? Because most people just are happy to get 100 yards.
You think about how many yards you have to run in order to get 200 yards
Yeah.
receiving. I mean, that's every game, because a lot of times you're just running a route and you never get the ball. But yeah, you're especially exhausted after that.
Man. Hey, as a coach, you tutored Cody Hoffman, and he became the all-time touchdown leader in school history, 33 touchdowns he got in 2012. He got that record catching touchdowns from a number of different quarterbacks. How much of that was your coaching as opposed to Cody's flat-out skill set and size?
100% Cody's skill set.
Now, there had to be some coaching in there, because it's
No.
hard to do.
You work with
little.
Cody, and he was a fun player to work with because of his work ethic, right? Tell us about your work with Cody and how he was as a player.
Cody was just a freak athlete, and he had amazing ball skills. He never looked like he was running full speed, and that used to drive Bronco crazy because Bronco was an effort guy. He wanted to just see people just gritting their teeth and veins popping out of him while he's running. And he was just smooth, and he looked a little lackadaisical, but that was just Cody. So I was always kind of having a battle with Bronco, because Bronco wanted to bench him, and I'm like, Coach, this guy's the best player on the field. I'll try to get him to work harder, but Cody was really working hard all the time. But
He just made it look easy.
He just made it look easy.
Even when he caught that bomb against Georgia Tech, which might be one of the greatest catches that we've seen, and we keep seeing catches where we go, that is the greatest catch we've seen. That one where he was just totally stretched out in the end zone, got the touchdown there, and then we were on the call when he broke the record against Boise State, which was also a tough touchdown. But he made so many difficult catches, kind of like Puka, makes him look easy.
Yeah, exactly. Ball skills, just world-class ball skills.
And he always seemed to be like, he was such a big guy. And I feel like when Cody was playing, there weren't as many of those. The big 6'3", 210, 15-pound guys that you try to press cover them on the line of scrimmage, and they just kind of throw you aside, and they play through contact. And contact actually is a benefit to them. Guy comes up and tries to be physical with them, and they come off the contact, and they're more open, right? It seems like now there's a bunch of those guys. Are you seeing that too as you watch college football? Is that the trend to go with these big physical dudes? It seems like everybody's got – Stanford this week has like 2 6'3" wide receivers.
I think they want that. I think coaches want that. They're looking for that. They can't always get that, but they feel like a big guy gives them an advantage. So it's trendy though. Sometimes you get the little quick, shifty Wes Welker type guys in the slot. They like that, and then the big guys on the outside. But Cody just knew how to use his body. He could have played basketball. He could have played Division I basketball too. He was just a great athlete.
It was fun to see him at the alumni game.
Yes, yeah.
Back in the spring. So all of that leads us to this question, which we promoted on social media today, because now with your experience with Cody makes you an expert here in this field. How good do you think Puka Nacua is? And if you were him, would you go into the NFL this year, or would you wait and go one more year?
Good question. Puka is elite, without a doubt. He's an NFL-type receiver. Whether or not he should leave this year and go to the NFL, I mean, there's a lot of factors, that come into play. So I'm not ready to make that judgment.
What would you do? Because you've been in the professional.
I would get all the information possible,
yeah,
and make a decision based on that information.
Would it hinge on if Jaron Hall comes back and you don't want to break in a new quarterback in the Big 12, or would that matter?
I think it would matter.
Yeah.
I think that would be an important part of that decision.
And there's back when I played, there was no such thing as NIL money, right? And so that kind of changes things, doesn't it? Because in the past, it's like, man, you have such a small window. If you have a chance to make money, you need to go make it because you're making nothing here. You're barely surviving. You can't even afford to fly home, right? Now Jaron's from here, and Puka's from here, which is interesting. They both are right from here in Utah County. But some of these kids back in the old days couldn't even afford to go home for Christmas because they couldn't afford a plane ticket because what they were paid wasn't enough. These guys can get hundreds of thousands of dollars in money. Would that change your decision if you knew that you could come back and have some guaranteed money and get an insurance policy to get to the next year? Would that make any difference?
It would come into play, I think. The biggest thing is injury, right? That's what would, scare somebody from coming back again. Because you get injured, you could screw your whole career. Mm-hmm. So if Puka comes out healthy at the end of this year, gets some information from the NFL as far as his draftability and where he may go in the draft, and let that make the decision. And with the Jaron Hall aspect too, I think that
so it should be an easy decision for him after all that.
No, it's not going to be easy.
It's still going to be hard.
It's never easy, and unless he's just like, this is my goal, and I'm not in school to graduate, and I'm just You
think about, you played 13 years in the CFL. That's 13 years. All these collegiate receivers came out of school wanting to play professional football, and they didn't take your position. That's hundreds and that's thousands of receivers. It is so hard to get in both leagues to get jobs. And this year, you got a bunch of receivers coming out. Everyone currently in the NFL wants to keep their jobs. And I think I'd be scared to death to go, I'm just going in because I think I can without the proof of a team going, hey, we're the Atlanta Falcons, Tyler. We're going to draft you. Might be the 8th round, but if you come out, because he gave up 2 years to come out, you're getting picked, and you're getting picked by us, and we need you. We need you to play. But those scenarios seem so rare.
If the NFL comes back and says, Puka, we think you're a late round draft pick, then
that changes.
I'm not going. I'm
not
going because nobody is invested in you if you're a 5th round draft pick, and you got to beat out a veteran. And then you're at the mercy of whoever drafts you and whoever you're competing against, because you're not going to get a shot. You've got to go in and beat somebody
You'd
out.
almost be better as a free agent rather than be a late 5th rounder, because you could pick a team that has fewer receivers.
Right. But if you're going to be a 2nd or 3rd round projection,
see, Tyler got the information.
2 or 3 years if you're a 3rd rounder.
Yeah, Tyler got information from multiple teams that if you're around a 3rd round, we're taking you. And so I think he made a pretty educated guess. And
he still didn't even go to the later.
Right.
But the Falcons were hot on it.
And the Falcons had told him, we'll draft you in the 3rd round, and we're bringing you in with the idea you're going to play. And so if you get that information, then you can go, oh, okay, if that makes sense.
And the same thing
for
the quarterback, too. If you're not going to get picked with some investment, then you should come back. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Well, that comes into play. I mean, I think Jacob Conover is a sweet football player.
Yeah.
I recruited him, and he is the real deal. He's going to be exciting and fun to watch. And he's not necessarily as mobile as Jaron Hall. So that comes in play as well. He's going to sit in the pocket. He's going to give you some time to get open, and he's going to throw the ball a little bit more instead of just ready.
So even if Jaron does go, you're saying they're still going to throw for a lot of yards on people, and Puka still can be featured, right?
Oh, absolutely. He's going to be the man.
Yeah.
How about these other guys? Keanu Hill, Chase Roberts, Cody Epps, Braden Cosper. It's a full stable. Even if Puka doesn't come back, as this group goes into the Big 12. And there's the other American Fork kid who's redshirting this year.
Just got back from Michigan.
Between he and Chase Roberts, I think they had 100 touchdowns over there at AF.
Yeah.
What about this group?
How you feeling about the group that's coming up and coming?
I recruited Chase Roberts. He's my guy. He's a baller.
Yeah.
I think he's more of a slot inside receiver. But they're fun to watch. Hill has been so fun to watch. And people have known about him. That's been the buzz even before this year. But I think he's really proven himself.
Their attitudes are great. I've had a chance to interview both of them. And Chase, that touchdown he got, he didn't break stride in that bomb that he got Saturday.
I was teasing the guys on the show today. I was like, that throw was so good. I think Chase didn't even need to look for the ball. If he would have just kept running and just put his hands out like this, the ball actually would have dropped right into his hands without looking at it. That's how good that throw was.
He showed good speed on it, too.
Yes, he did. He outran those guys.
Yeah, it was nice.
A couple more questions for Ben Cahoon, outstanding MVP Hall of Famer from the Canadian Football League, and couldn't be defended when he was at BYU as well.
Here's the thing about Ben that I remember when I was covering you. Ben talks about being able to move and be in motion and how he could set up defensive backs. But But Ben, when teams tried to press Ben and get up in his face, they always failed. Because Ben understood how to get off the line of scrimmage, and he's not a big guy. And so sometimes it doesn't matter if you're a big guy or a little guy. You got to understand the footwork and the handwork that it takes to get off of press coverage. What made you so special and have the ability to do that when you were not a giant guy like Cody Huffman?
I don't know. Honestly, I just think that it was a mentality. My first experience, I went to Ricks College, walked on at Ricks College. I went up there my very first practice. I got pressed at the line of scrimmage by a grown man. I was just an incoming freshman, 18-year-old, and I got clamped on, marched up a hill, and thrown into a chain link fence, and then talked to in not so nice terms about welcome to college football. So that was my welcome, and I learned real quick that I got to figure out a way to
not let these guys get their hands on me.
Exactly. Right? So it was just a little bit more quicks and just.
And in high school, no one could get their hands on you anyway. You were like Puka, and you get the ball, no one could tackle you. You run for touchdowns, but you got the message sent to you at Rick's. By the time you came down here, you had it figured out.
Yeah, it was just hand-to-hand combat, and the mentality then was, if you press me, you're going to get burned. Like I loved people to step up because I wasn't the fastest guy, but I was quick. So I could get them off the line and get some separation that way. And if I got somebody on my hip, then I knew how to break off a route and stick my foot in the ground and come out of a break and get separation.
That team that you were on, we talk about that whole receiving group. And some of the teams I was on, I remember when I was a freshman and Jim McMahon was our starter, coming off of a year where he broke 76 NCAA records, right? We'd watch a team on film, and Jim would go, "Oh, I hope they try to press us. Like, I hope they blitz us. If they blitz us, we will kill them. Like, I will throw 7 touchdown passes." It was almost like, "Oh, yeah, bring it." And that 96 team had that mentality like, "Oh, Steve Sarkisian and you guys, oh, please come up and press cover us." In recent years, I feel like BYU, that's kind of been the MO. Let's play too deep, man. Let's put guys in their faces. Let's get our hands on the receivers. Let's cause them problems. Doesn't work so well against Puka, but is this mostly a mentality that allows you to say, hey, if you're going to blitz us, you're going to pay? Utah's notorious for just getting in people's faces and trying to manhandle them physically. How do you overcome that as a team?
It is a mentality. It is a confidence, but it's also coaching. And the coaches have a responsibility to put players in position to help them succeed. And if that means getting into bunch formations or motioning or, having angle releases, so the coaches can do a lot to help. If a team, and Utah does it every year, they think they can manhandle us at the line of scrimmage, and they're fairly successful at it. But you have to scheme that, and you can do a lot, with formations and with motions to help your guys out.
And once you make them pay a few times early in the game, then they do back off.
Exactly.
Right? They do back off.
Ben Kuhn with us on the Wise Guys. Your wife, Kim, the daughter of the former governor of Utah, Gary Herbert, which makes him your father-in-law. A very competitive guy. We golf with him. He's been here on this show. He's had a lot of nice things to say about you, but he also has a lot of nice things to say about his own athletic prowess from back in the day. So in your prime,
I know where this is going.
And in his prime, who wins in a game of basketball?
In our prime?
In your prime.
Yeah, because he tells us he was great basketball player.
You got to go back to
and we can't really check it. There's no film.
We know that he was a stud at Orem High School, and you were at Mountain View years later. In your 2 primes, could you take him?
I think so. Yeah.
See, I knew Ben would have that.
I think he told us he'd take you.
Yeah,
pretty sure that's how that question went.
So today,
now
you're both old. But you're not quite as old as Gary. But Governor Herbert, I should call him, because he does give me governor's pardon.
Yeah, we call him governor all the time. We're not messing with that.
And I checked on the rules. I'm like, Gary, can you actually give me a governor's pardon because you're not the governor anymore? And he's like, Blaine, the governor's pardon extends way beyond your term.
Our biggest disappointment.
I appreciate that.
Despite taxes, because we don't like paying taxes, our other biggest disappointment with him not running for another term was the highway patrol would no longer look for our golf balls after we hit them.
He'd have all these people, security people, and you'd hit it in the woods, and they'd be like, "It's right here, Blaine." I was like, "It
was fantastic."
That's the best.
We'd buy them hot dogs. They'd find our Titleist.
The best part of golfing with him was
is security detail to find the ball for you.
Okay, so here comes the bigger question.
So right now, And no dunking allowed or crazy jump shots and stuff. No crazy like double pump, rock the cradle stuff. Who wins in a game of horse?
Horse?
Yeah.
Gary.
He's
that fast,
creative,
huh?
right?
He's a good shooter.
He is a good
Yeah,
shooter.
he is. I know.
So you take him in the prime, but here in 2020, in a game of horse, he would take you.
And not many people
so.
know. We talked about it when he was on the show. Our former governor, Gary Herbert, was a phenomenal athlete back in the day, multi-sport athlete back in the day. So
When he's not hitting the golf ball straight, however, that's a frustrated Governor Gary Herbert.
yeah, he's very competitive on the golf course.
I've not seen that. I've not seen him not hit it straight.
Really?
He's usually just right down
Trust
the
me,
middle.
he can hit it as sideways as any of us.
Yeah, and it seems like no matter, like, because we let him keep score because it's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like no matter.
And by the
what,
way, he's loose with
I'm
his
like,
scores.
hey, what did you shoot today? And I'd be like, 76. What did you shoot? Oh, 75. I'm like, what?
It's funny, he'd wait for our scores and then he'd announce his score.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
But now he's not running for office, so he's free with some of that stuff. All right, before we do 5 questions and get you out of here, Big 12 schedule comes out December 1st. Who would you like to see the Cougars open with at home September 23rd next fall?
Oklahoma.
See?
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking
that.
about.
I kind of like Texas because we have a history with them, but
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian at Texas. That'd be fun.
yeah. So you'd love to see the Sooners in.
I want the Sooners this year at home, and I want and Texas on the road. I want to play them both these first 2 years because that's the only opportunity because they're going to the SEC. So I want Oklahoma at home this year, Texas on the road, and then I want Texas on the at home the following year and Oklahoma. I want them on both, but I don't know that we're going to be so lucky to get that. So
It'll be something just to see the Big 12 stamp down on the field.
yeah, it'd be cool.
Maybe they should do that for the alumni game.
I think so. They're in the
I
Big
think
12
it's a
by the
great
time that we'll
idea.
have the schedule. It should be on the field for the alumni game.
All right, you ready for 5 questions?
Yeah, you ready?
You ready?
These are rapid fire. Favorite sports movie?
Rudy.
Nice. I like that too.
That's a good one.
My favorite is Remember the Titans, but I like Rudy. That's my number 2. Favorite singer or band?
Ooh. Let's pass.
No, there's
Come
no
back to that.
passing.
We'll come back to it. We're coming back to it.
We'll swing it back around.
After the 4th question, we'll go back before the 5th question.
Favorite breakfast cereal?
Cinnamon checks.
Cinnamon Checks.
Hey, at least it's got sugar on it. Like people come in here and talk like Cheerios. We're like, please tell me you put like 6 teaspoons of sugar on that stinky
Checks.
stuff. So, okay. Your favorite BYU moment?
First catch at BYU, Texas A&M.
Was it like
Big
1,000
Skin
degrees
Classic.
that day?
I don't remember the temperature.
I know it was in August.
It was in Lavelle Edwards. Though.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great game. And we were a big underdog. You guys pumped them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's pretty fun.
Favorite Canadian cuisine?
Well, I've never had poutine. That is the Quebec.
I don't even know what
What
that
is
is.
it?
That's French fries with gravy and cheese curds. It's famous.
You lost me on the curds,
Yeah,
but
no,
as
that's
soon as
why
you
I
said
never had
curds,
it. I've
that's
never
not
tried
good.
it.
okay. So
Was
what
there
is
something
it?
that you actually liked up there, though?
Tim Hortons Donuts. Just
Tim Hortons
world-class.
Donuts, and that's Canadian.
Yeah, it's a Canadian.
Tim
so
Hortons
now we
Donuts.
got to come back to your favorite singer or band.
I can't even think right now.
Dave
of that.
made me sing a Journey song on the air
I
last week.
love Journey.
Yeah, during
I
game
do.
day.
I don't know,
Come on, you gotta have to have a
I'm thinking
favorite.
about Grey Cup halftime. We had Shania Twain up there. That was
I will
good.
go-
I
yeah.
like Shania. My wife's been on a little Shania kick lately.
Yeah, and she back
maybe-
out. I
Yeah,
heard
she's back out on tour.
I'd go see Shania right now.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
You going with Shania?
I guess so.
I like that.
Just kind of brain freeze right
not
there.
the-
So
Shania Twain's all
It's not
good.
the most strongest endorsement we've heard,
no,
but
sorry about that.
I'm gonna have to try some Tim Horton donuts though.
You gotta
where
go
do you got to go to get those?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan?
Good luck.
You can't get
When's
them
your
in
next
BC.
trip?
You can't
Yeah,
get
no,
them
you
in
can get them
BC?
anywhere.
Oh, you can get them in
Anywhere.
BC. So next
Every
time I'm in
corner-
BC, I'm gonna do that.
But not in
every
America.
corner of every street in Canada.
Next time I'm up in Vancouver, I'm
Tim
gonna get
Hortons
some.
Donuts.
Maybe Montana. Maybe up close to the
Do you know
border.
when you're driving up to British Columbia, up to Vancouver, the last town you cross in Washington before you go across the border in Canada is Blaine, Washington. Spelled Blaine, just like me. Yeah, it's my town.
Yeah,
I tell the kids that's my town. So
it's nice.
Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure,
Ben
guys.
Cahoon.
greatest receiver and one of BYU's all-time greats, but the
The
greatest
greatest
receiver in CFL history on with us
hey.
tonight. It's we're pumped to have
Listen,
had
I got it. He brought
Yeah.
a couple of shirts for us, so
Yeah.
I'm going to show them right here while you explain what you're up to. Besides, now that you're not
you.
catching
People
football
want
in
to
the
know what you're
CFL.
doing these days, so let's fill them in.
Hey, I'm doing retail sales for G2G Protein Bar. It's a fresh refrigerated protein bar. We make them in Orem. Been in business about 12 years. It's phenomenal. Grab them at Costco, Maverick, Holiday.
So we have them, and you gave me some because Brenda's on. She's on to them because she says they're way healthier than the other stuff I was eating. But here's something that you just told me when we were talking the other day at lunch. That I was like, oh, the only thing I don't like about them is I can't take them on the road with me because they got to be in the fridge. And you said, no, Blaine, like they're refrigerated, but they have enough shelf life when they're not refrigerated. You can stick them in your bag and take them on the road with you, right?
Yeah. They're good for 8 months when you keep them cold, but they're also good for 30 days outside the fridge on the go.
So take them on the road with you. Now I can put them in my backpack and take them on the road when we're on the road doing stuff. And I did not know that until we went to lunch with Ben the other day.
Hey, we appreciate how you represent BYU and the Canadian Football League and Mountain View High School, even from an Orem Tiger.
Yep. Local guy makes great. We love it.
First class. Thanks for coming.
Thanks Ben.
So much, guys.
We appreciate having you, brother.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
man.
Tell the governor we'll play, but we're not playing until the 65 again. So we'll probably see him in March.
Yeah.
March or April.
You should need to come play golf with us. We'll have that to be our
All I'm waiting for is an invitation.
All right, you got it.
Yeah, you got the invitation right here.
Okay.
And your father-in-law will pick up the check. That's also confirmed right here.
Yeah, he told us he would.
All right, Ben, we'll let you go. DJ, can we get
Thanks,
that
Ben.
after further review up? And we want to remind everybody, next Tuesday night is the season finale of After Further Review. We're calling it the Farm Report because that's what they said. Stanford is down on the farm. It's literally on the farm. And so the Farm Report is next Tuesday, 7 Eastern, 5 Mountain on the BYU TV app, followed by an all-new Wise Guys at wiseguys.com, YouTube, and Twitch. Future guests, next week it's just you and me because we've got a basketball game to dance around. Glenn Kozlowski will be with us December 6th.
Have we figured out how we're doing that next week?
Yeah, I'll explain to you.
Okay, we'll talk.
Michael Rucker, pitcher for the Cubs, will be with us on December 6th. And Scott Robinson, who's the promoter behind the BYU Creighton game at Mandalay Bay in Vegas, he will be with us on December 6th. Danny Ainge will be with us during the month of December as well, and we're so stoked
You and
about
I were just
that.
talking to Danny the other night. He's committed to come out. We just got to figure out the date for Danny. As you might imagine, Danny's a little busy this time of year. You know what I love about Danny? He still finds time to come out and support the Cougs.
Yeah.
So he'd sit there on press row with us the other night watching and supporting his alma mater, as busy as he is with the Jazz and all the stuff that he's got going. Danny's awesome.
Our next guest is the California North Region Alumni Chapter Director, which canvasses everything north of Fresno to the Oregon border and up to the Reno-Sparks, Nevada area. Graduated from the Y in 2002, now a real estate mogul in the Reno area. And it's a pleasure to welcome Ken Lund to the Wise Guys ahead of the big BYU-Stanford football game. Ken, thanks for joining us.
Thanks. It's a great day to be a Cougar.
Yes, it is.
It's always good.
I served my mission in Toronto, Canada, so I was reminiscing on poutine and Timbits.
Is that good stuff?
Is Timbits up? That's something. What's Timbits?
There's a Tim Hortons on every block in Canada. I think it's even spread onto upstate New York. But
and those
yeah, good
fries and
stuff.
the cheese curds, those are good?
Well, I respect Ben for not eating it while he was up there in Canada. You know, because you can gain about 40 pounds if you eat a lot of that poutine stuff.
Hey, you have a lot in common with Ben.
Yeah.
So his first catch was against Texas A&M in that Pigskin Classic, which was also the first football game you attended at BYU.
It was, yeah. I was a freshman the 96 season, so that was my introduction to BYU football, and a spectacular game.
And that's your first full season on campus, and you have that team. So I want to ask you what we asked Ben, and he and I kind of went through it, and we were being kind to each other. But who wins the 96 team? But I don't know. Do you even remember the 84 team, the national championship team? Or are you too young for that?
Well, I was pretty young. I mean, I was aware that they were in the national championship, but I was 6 at the time. So,
So you're going 96.
So that 96 team was a solid team top to bottom, and there was solid coaching top to bottom. That was a really good team.
Yeah, it was a great team, no question about it. So, yeah, we decided that the offense on the 96 team was elite and probably better than our offense in 84, although we were not bad on offense.
Right.
But our defense was elite, and that would be a really fun matchup.
But they had James Dye, so that was the deal breaker.
That's what Dave says. The deal breaker is that James Dye, the punt returner, is
you
gonna make
kick,
the
you
difference.
punt to him, you die, and you guys didn't have that. You had Vi, which was good.
But remember, our punter was the best in the country and played 19 seasons in the NFL. So maybe we punted it so far it wouldn't even matter.
Ken, how big of a deal is it to have BYU wrap up 12 years of independence in Northern California against Stanford on Saturday night?
It's exciting. It's surreal to think that this is the last Northern California game for maybe the next 10 years. I don't think we have anything else in California on schedule. So,
well, I guess there's
you
a
don't know
possibility
when BYU's going to be back in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's a possibility. I mean, we don't know these preseason games, like, because they're not going to be scheduling Cal and Stanford and those kinds of teams. I don't think very often. Maybe a Cal or Stanford, but occasionally. But they could maybe come play in San Jose State or somebody like that in their preseason at some point. But you're right. This is you got to take it all in and love it, because they may not be back for quite some time. What kind of fan turnout are you expecting at the Stanford contest?
There's somewhere between 16,000 and 17,000 alumni in the Northern California area. Now I'm in the Reno Tahoe area, which is just over the hill, about 3 hours away. So in that area, I mean, Cougar Nation has a big footprint in Northern California. And I know, the joke is that Northern California is the greatest exporter of talent in the United States. And the reason all of our real estate values have doubled over the last 5 years. And so, I mean, Northern California BYU Nation is spreading their footprint everywhere, but there are still a ton of BYU fans and BYU alumni in the area. And this is the last chance for who knows how long. And you mentioned it earlier, Stanford is the only Pac-12 team that BYU has not beaten yet. And that streak needs to end this Saturday.
So it's an 8 p.m. start there at the stadium, which is super. That's late even by California standards, and it's certainly 11 p.m. for the Cougar fans on the East Coast. Probably not too excited about that, but 8 o'clock allows everybody time to get there.
You can come over the hill. You can come from wherever you are in California or Oregon. And the weather's supposed to be clear. There is no expected precipitation. It'll be a nice, balmy 50 degrees at the stadium at kickoff.
I love that.
There's no reason not to be there.
Tell us about.
You'll be well fed with turkey and stuffing.
Oh, nice. That's what I was going to ask you about. And maybe the meal is part of it, but tell us about the activities surrounding the game, the tailgate, and what you have in store for BYU alumni that want to participate when they get over there and be part of Cougar Nation.
Yeah, so BYU, we're going to be having a tailgate about a quarter mile south of the stadium. It's an area called Corrette Plaza. We've been selling tailgate tickets if you wanted to have a meal through us. I think those have sold out. We're done with sales. But anybody can come and gather with the Cougars. And these alumni activities are always fun because you can see how many fellow BYU alumni you have in your area. And as I've gone to these over the years, without fail, I've met an old roommate, somebody I haven't seen for a long time. It's a big world and a big alumni community, yet it's really tight knit at the same time. So we're gonna have games, we're gonna have prizes. You never know who's gonna show up at these games. You run into old roommates or
what about Steve
BYU
Young?
Players.
Steve Young gonna show up? That's like across the street.
Blaine, give him a call.
I'll call him. I think he is coming. I just saw his.
We need to get him on our pregame show.
I just saw Jackson, his son, working out the other day across the street. So Jackson's at BYU now. Steve's youngest son.
Oh yeah.
They still have the girls at home, the two girls, but I'll have to check and see if he's coming. I think he'll be around. Steve's going to make a game in the Bay.
The nice thing about the tailgate venue, it's really close to the stadium, so you can get there. There's a lot of parking northwest of the stadium that's easy access to the tailgate area and the stadium, and it's always a really good time.
Ken Lund is the California North Region Alumni Chapter Director on the Wise Guys tonight, ahead of the BYU Stanford game Saturday night in Palo Alto. These alumni events, I know, ring close to home. Your wife, Alicia, is the her new enthusiasm is a direct result of BYU alumni gatherings like the one on Saturday.
It's true. I actually attended law school at the University of Utah, and it was a great thing because I met my wife there.
Right.
And there's nobody else on the planet that would put up with me like she does, and she's a phenomenal person. But when we were married, she was a Ute fan, and but when I relocated to Reno in 2015. And I discovered that every major market in the country has a BYU alumni chapter. I lived in Las Vegas for 7 years and had no clue that there were these local alumni chapters. But when I was in Reno, I found out about it, became involved, and she's great, and she helped me, and eventually they tapped me to be the chair for our local chapter.
Yeah.
And Alicia was great about helping me out. But there and through participating in those activities and going to the chapter conferences we have in Provo, I saw her start to turn a little bit. But I have to give credit to Brian Santiago.
Really?
He with an assist on this one. He came and spoke to our local seminary students and did a couple of alumni things in, I think it was 2017. And it would have been really easy for him to cancel. It was the week that he was elevated to be the deputy athletic director. But he came and he left some BYU gear. And I caught my wife wearing BYU hats and BYU shirts around the house. And I said, what's happened here? She says, I'm a BYU fan.
She's all in?
That's awesome.
She's fully converted. Now she's the one that turns on, whether it's basketball, volleyball.
Yeah.
She's the one that turns on the sporting events in our house and takes our kids to the games whenever they're on the Wasatch Front. So she's true blue.
That tells me all those years ago you made a great decision.
Complete convert, and it all came around. I love this story. So
Hey,
thanks, Alicia, for being a fan, even though you were indoctrinated with that crazy Ute stuff at a young age.
give us 2 keys to a BYU win. Now, put your analyst hat on. Now you wear a real estate hat most of the time. Now you're a football analyst here on the Wise Guys. 2 things BYU needs to do to win Saturday.
I'm going to draw on my depth of experience as a middle linebacker on my freshman football team.
All right.
Nice.
But I think, as we've seen, any given Saturday, you can get a different result. How many upsets and surprising results have we seen across the country? I think BYU needs to come in and have a fast start.
Okay.
Don't let Tanner McKee get into a rhythm and feel like he can find his receivers. Momentum, I think, will be huge for this game. Stanford's a good team. They've had a disappointing year,
Right.
but you look at that result against Notre Dame, and they have a good game in them.
Yeah.
And so does BYU, and we've seen that again and again. I think the other thing is I'd love to see more short game improvement with the line. And I mean, considering that he came from Stanford, I'd love to see some Houston with the rock. And hey, Chris Brooks has some motivation to have a good game against Stanford as well.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
man,
right.
I think that'd be fun to see Houston line up at fullback,
Block
Chris
for Brooks
at tailback, and let Houston just plow the road. That's a good take, Ken. I like it.
Hey, does Alicia approve of these 2 keys? Did you run them past her?
Yeah, I may have run him past a couple other people.
All right.
To vet them.
So
like
look,
it.
folks coming to the game Saturday night, that alumni area where there's the tailgate, which is sold out, you're still encouraging fans, just come over and mix and mingle. They'll still have kind of somewhat access, or what?
Yeah, there'll be access. It's open to everybody.
Okay.
And one really important reason to go by the tailgate, we've partnered with a really great organization. We made this connection through the local Just Serve rep, but we're cooperating with a local charity there in the Silicon Valley area. We Hope, and we're asking fans to bring pairs of socks and, surprisingly, laundry detergent pods. And We Hope serves the homeless population in the Bay Area, and they have these mobile supply trucks where they're able to give homeless or displaced people showers. You think about, one of the big problems with homelessness is you're wearing these ratty clothes that you haven't washed in who knows how many weeks, months, and they provide laundry services so they can leave these mobile centers with a shower, a clean pair of clothes. So we'll have collection sites there at the venue. Bring warm socks, bring laundry detergent pods, and we can really partner and bring some good to the community along with.
That's
watching
awesome.
good
That's
football.
awesome. We love, and this has been a theme all year as we've connected with our BYU alumni chapter presidents. Every one of the chapters and every road venue this year has participated in a service project and served the community around where BYU's playing on the road. It's awesome. Do good in the world, and BYU's doing that all over the country.
Ken, one of our live streamers is asking for folks who aren't going to be in the Bay Area, is there a website or some information where folks around the country can donate?
Yeah, when I jump off of this, I'll put the link to the We Hope website. If you Google We Hope, you should be able to find it. But I'll put the link in the feed.
Great, awesome,
Thanks,
and
Ken.
we'll
That's
send
great.
it. We'll pass it on to everybody. Some questions on that. Cougar fans love to get involved in good causes. All right, look, we're holding you personally accountable for a win on Saturday night. Now that you've been on the Wise Guys, are you ready for that kind of responsibility?
I still remember the 2004 game. I want to get the stink of that game out of my.
Man, that's a long
No,
time.
that's like a player though. Players, like, you ask him like, hey, what about this season? Like, oh yeah, I'll never forget when we lost to these guys. So I like that's like stuck with Ken, and he's not happy with that. You can't.
Especially because
can't
I've been
leave this.
married for a month and I had my Ute fan wife that was giving me guff about the game.
Well,
as we
that's a
were
double
watching.
whammy.
Oh,
That's a
man.
double whammy right there. We're glad you made it through.
Time to turn it around for sure.
Hey, let everybody down there with the alumni group know about the Wise Guys, and we're just a live stream podcast chat of everything that's important about BYU and BYU sports, including this and the service project and the big game on Saturday. Thank you for coming on with us.
Thanks so much, guys. Will do. Appreciate it.
All
You
right,
got it.
Ken, thanks.
We'll send you the podcast tomorrow. Ken Lund, the California North Regional Alumni Chapter Director. It is so cool when BYU comes there, like the Rolling Stones. You know, the area just gets invigorated, and Cougar fans, young and old, get their BYU shirts and hats on and show up. And I wish we could go to every road venue, but we've been to a lot of them.
Yeah, we've been to a lot of them. We used to go more than we do now, and it's awesome, the energy that's around there. And I love this theme that they're going to do a service project every time BYU plays in a road game. It just does so much good for the community, but it also shows that BYU cares about the communities around the country, and that BYU alumni all over the country care about their communities. It's a great thing.
DJ, will you put up our game day graphic again for a second as we segue out of football for a moment? We want to remind you, Saturday night, BYU Sports Nation game day, 9 o'clock Eastern time is the start. That's 7 Mountain on BYU TV. We'll be live from Stanford Stadium and our BYU TV studios leading right up to kickoff at 11 Eastern, 9 Mountain on FS1. And then we're back with the live postgame show no matter how late. We may go just right till the sun comes up Sunday morning on BYU TV. It's going to be a late one. Hold off on those turkey sandwiches, but we're going to have some fun with the regular season finale, BYU Stanford, on Saturday night. Our next guest is BYU basketball's all-time leading scorer, passing up his dad and then passing up Danny Ainge and then passing up Jimmer Fredette. He's also a BYU TV basketball analyst on game day before every home game on BYU TV. A pleasure to welcome our colleague and friend Tyler Haas to the Wise Guys. Hey, there he is. Good evening, Tyler.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So are you at home in your office and you've got like a 3 trifecta Michael Jordan behind you? Is that what's going on behind you?
I'm in my basement. So this poster behind me I got when I was probably 10 years old for Christmas, and I've kept it ever since. And so I threw it up.
Yeah, looks nice. Goes great.
So was it originally just an old school paper poster and you kind of made it art by putting into 3 different pictures and framing it?
No, I think that must have been Marty's doing. He must have divided it up.
Hey, I tweeted out a picture of you on social media as we were promoting this interview of you dunking the basketball against Utah, and their big guy was like right next to you, and you swooped right by him and dunked it in his face. How many dunks did you get at BYU? I'm remembering, I think 3. Is that right? Were there more than that?
You're asking that like I didn't dunk very much.
Well,
but I think I had a few my senior year. I mean, it's probably less than 10. It's probably 5 or 6.
That's more than we did.
Do we need to remind Dave that whether you dunk it or you shoot it off the glass, they're still worth 2. Or if you step behind 3-point line, they're worth 3, right?
Right. No, that's exactly right, Dave. Come on. But hey, that dunk against Utah, that was my freshman year, and I remember that play. Every time I see that play, I'm lucky I didn't land right on my head, because that guy was coming right from behind me, and I didn't really know how to dunk yet. I was only 18, 19 years old, so I was lucky it went in.
Well, it did go in. Hey,
Yes,
when you hit that shot to put yourself past your friend Jimmer, atop BYU's record books for scoring, how'd that feel?
I mean, incredible. It was something, one of those things that, like, you never set out on your college career to accomplish something like that, and it just kind of slowly happened. Even I heard rumblings my senior year that I was close and within striking distance, and I had a bad ankle injury right in the middle of my senior year, and so there was a lot of unknowns. I didn't know if it would be possible, and then I came back and kept scoring, and I was like, maybe we'll get there. But it was never a goal. Like, I was trying to just help the team, and I was fortunate enough to have a role on each of my teams where I needed to score, and they were calling plays for me, and Terry Nashif was in my face trying to get me to shoot more. And all those things were a blessing that kind of worked together to allow something special like that to happen.
Do you remember the shot? Do you remember that one when you passed Jimmer?
I do. Yeah. It was a backdoor play. I threw it into, I think it was Ryan Andrus who passed it to me, and I had the option to come off a little elbow screen or go back door, based on how they were playing me, and they overplayed it, and Ryan threw a good pass.
When you were back your senior year, everybody knew that the offense was built around you. So we're covering those games, of course. Dave and I are covering those games, and we're like, can he go out and get 20 tonight? Because they're doubling him all over the floor. They're helping off of everybody else on him. What's that like to be that marked of a guy? Because I feel like Alex Barcelo was in the same situation last year. They so depended on him to score that they're just trying to take him out of the game. They were doing that to you your whole senior season, but somehow you figured out a way to score and to carry the scoring load for the team. What was that like?
Yeah, very, very challenging. You knew you had a target on your chest every single night. But again, I'll give a lot of credit to Terry Nashif. I've talked to some people about this. I mean, it seemed like he was always one step ahead of the way teams were going to play me, and he'd throw in some wrinkles right at the right time to help me get going, help me get in the rhythm of the game. But also, I mean, I tried really hard to not be a dominant have to have the ball in my hands all the time scorer. Like, I tried to score in lots of ways. I mean, I shot a ton of free throws at BYU, and tried to run hard in transition, tried to get easy buckets in transition, tried to be a good offensive rebounder. I tried to score in lots of different ways besides having to, have the ball in my hands so defenses could key on me. I tried to just let the game come to me, play hard, and let the scoring kind of take care of itself, find other ways to be involved in the offense.
I remember we were in Vegas for the Vegas Bowl. 2009, you were in Vegas. BYU was playing Nevada. I think it was at the Orleans or Mandalay Bay. And of course, everyone was scoring, but you as a freshman, I think you had 20, I think it was your first 20-point game. You were hitting shots all over the place, and they were too worried about Jimmer's over here and this guy. Who's this kid? And that was the first time we saw you really light it up since your high school days. And then when you got back from your mission, you had that freshman year one where you got a lot of points to start. Your foundation was already set as a scorer. But I remember that Vegas game, and I think it was a wild game, like 98, 96 or something.
Yeah, it was a high-scoring game, yeah.
So you got that going for you.
Yeah, I remember that game very vividly. Fun tournament. And, yeah, playing alongside Jimmer, I mean, I had to get creative. I had to find other ways to get involved because he was going to take a lot of shots, and for good reason, right?
Yeah.
but I had to find a way to contribute. And so, but there were definitely games when he had 2 or 3 guys on him, and so I was getting wide open shots. And so, I remember a couple of times that year we went down to San Diego State and won there my freshman year. Kawhi Leonard, all those guys. And that was another game where things just opened up and they were keying on him, and I got open looks. And so that's always nice when they start keying on a guy and you're ready to go and chomping at the bit to get some shots up. So
I had actually broadcast that game that he's talking about down in Viejas that year. When you were a youngin and Jimmer was going off. That was a fun year to be a freshman. It's funny when you were the guy and everybody was relying on you to score. You remember when Jimmer was the guy because and how do teams, when you've got somebody like that, sometimes you look at a team, you're like, look at everybody's just standing around. They're just watching Jimmer, like their own teammates. They're just watching Jimmer. Yet I feel like that team did a great job of not standing around and watch Jimmer and moving. How do you get that mentality? Like, yeah, we got a great score, but we all have to contribute and keep moving because when they shut him down, I got to be ready. That's not an easy mindset to have as a basketball team when you have somebody that's that dominating as a scorer, right?
Yeah, that team was so talented. Like looking back, I didn't even realize like how many awesome pieces we had around. And it was just the culture that was built when I got there. I mean, it was really competitive. We got after each other every day. Guys were, open gyms were very, very competitive. And it was led by guys like Jackson Emery, right? Noah Hartsock brought it every day. Jonathan Tavernari was bringing it, talking trash. Like
I can see that.
From the moment I got on campus, it was competitive. Charles Abuo pushed me every single day. I didn't know if I was going to play because we had so many guards on that team that could play. Mike Lloyd Jr. and Lamont Morgan, and everyone wanted to win. That was the biggest thing. It was all about winning and contributing. And so, that mindset and culture right from the beginning, in spring basketball and the whole summer, I felt those things and I was like, man, I gotta get up extra shots. I gotta be ready for when my number's called. And, fortunately I was able to work my way into the lineup and have a big role, but it didn't come easy. And, guys were getting after each other and it was ultra competitive in practice, which, made it that much more, I guess, freeing in the game to where if one guy was getting keyed on, the next guy stepped up and was ready.
Tyler Haas on the Wise Guys tonight, BYU TV basketball analyst and the all-time leading scorer in program history. We like people to be honest on this show, so I'm going to ask you this next question, and we expect a full honest answer, don't we, Blaine?
Always.
Always.
When has Tyler ever not just told
I know,
us the
but
truth?
I just wanted to put it out there.
Tyler always speaks truth. Always speaks truth.
So you and Jimmer, you shoot your way past Danny Ainge, who's got his jersey up there, and he comes to the games and he talks to us, and we were talking to him about stuff the other day, and of course he didn't have the 3-point line and you guys do. So do you guys feel bad kind of that you blew right past him and relegated him to third when he did not have the 3-point line?
No, I do not feel bad for Dan. Not at all. No, for sure. He can make every excuse there is. It is what it is, Danny. I'm sorry.
All right, here's another question about so basketball has been played at BYU since 1902. And here we got you and Jimmer as teammates, and in the very same era, 1 and 2 in scoring in school history. I mean, there have been a ton of players that have come through. And, Kreshmer Chosic, and then you go, well, 15 years later, such and such did something. But for the two of you guys to go 1-2 all-time in scoring in such a short period of time, I mean, how unique does that feel?
No, it's very unique. I mean, not many programs, I think, have something like that happen. And I mean, if Jimmer would have had, his junior and senior year, his freshman and sophomore year, I mean, I think he would have had close to 4,000 points. I mean, the work that he did in that his junior and senior season was just unbelievable. I mean, his scoring came in huge buckets, right? And what he did his senior year, I don't think, I mean, very, very hard to match what he did that senior year and some of the games that he had. And like my game was not that at all. It was, you know, there were lots of games where I was silent, but, you know, found a way to score 20 points. That was kind of my game. I had a few breakout games, but my scoring was just consistent and a little more subtle than Jimmer knocking down 40 footers, right? But really, really special. I mean, I was just fortunate enough to play alongside some really good guys my freshman year, and then I went on my mission and came back, and I knew the drill and knew what I needed to do, knew the work that I needed to put in, and it was the culture that those guys had built, and had an awesome next 3 years after that.
Tyler's way underselling, by the way, and this is what we love about Tyler. He's unbelievably humble, but you don't become the all-time leading scorer unless you're really, really special. And as much as teams were doubling Jimmer his junior and senior year, they were doubling Tyler his junior and senior year.
They're fouling and hacking you and trying to wear you out.
And I'll tell you that one of the great things about Tyler is he played on attack. And he would play through contact, and he would get to the free throw line. And when Tyler got to the free throw line, it was like it's like, yeah, he's making it. Tyler's going to make it. He was just going to make a free throw. So your number one in program history was 724 free throws, Tyler, which is also an amazing feat. You hold the record still for 50 consecutive free throws made. First of all, what mindset does it take to be that good at shooting free throws? And then I want to know if you remember the first one you missed. What happened when you got to 51? Like, what happened with that? Why wasn't it 100? Because I thought you would make 100 in a row.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, this sounds silly, but it goes back to being in the gym by yourself, getting the reps in, right? I tried to shoot 100 free throws every day when I was there after my workout, or, you know, spaced out during my workout. And so, you know, it just became just repetition, muscle memory, and got to the point where, you know, all you're doing is counting a few misses every 100, right? And really surprised when you do miss. But yeah, I mean, that work I can remember being a fifth or sixth grader and keeping track of my free throws and making, you know, 65, 70, 73. And just slowly I got better and better, grew into my body. And, you know, my goal was 90 by the time I was, you know, later in high school. But just kind of another one of those things that just kind of happened. And my freshman year, I went on, you know, a big streak. I made 49, and then I went on my mission. And it's funny, I was thinking about this today, but my first interview when I got back from my mission was Dave.
Oh no.
Dave interviewed me, and my wife gives me such a hard time. We still watch it every now and again. I have such a thick accent. Like, I couldn't speak English. It was weird. But you asked me about my free throw streak, and it was like, hey, I just got to make my next one. And I made one more my sophomore year, and then I missed the next one. So,
Dave, it was because he gave you bad karma.
I don't know
That's
about
what
that.
it is.
Was Dave's fault,
he asked you about it.
Who did you miss? Who did you miss against? What happened?
It was one of the first games. I can't remember.
It was 49, and it held over for 2 years while you were gone. And then you hit 50,
and then he missed one. And then he went on another streak. So here, I want to take us back to what you just said, because I want everybody to hear that. Am I wrong in interpreting what you said? From the time you were either in 5th or 6th grade, you got up 100 free throws every day from that point through college.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there were days.
Yeah. He's saying yes.
There were some days I missed, and obviously during the year is a little bit different. But yeah, when I was in my workout plan, I would always shoot 100. Yeah.
And that's not to mention the number of jump shots you got up from all over the floor in a particular workout, but you made sure, because I don't think people understand the level of commitment it takes, whether it's football, basketball, to play at that level and to be an all-time leading scorer. For you, it started in 5th or 6th grade, and you're getting shots up every day during workout time. And you're mastering your craft all the way up through, and your goal in high school was 90 of 100 in that workout. And you'd get 90 of 100 or more all the way through college, right?
Yeah. My record, and there were some mornings where I was on a roll and just making a lot, and I'd see how many I could make. And one morning I made 149 in a row.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
But I mean, really, it's getting reps up, just being in the gym and being disciplined. And, you get to the point where if you have a rebounder, you can knock that out in 15 or 20 minutes. But it's just being disciplined to shoot them, right? Lots of kids, I think, especially nowadays, go and they're working on moves that are not applicable to what they're going to do, right? And for me, it was always just putting in a body of work to where when I got on the court, I knew I could play confident and play free, and because I knew I had put in all the time. No one had worked harder than me. And so I prided myself on just the body of work that I put in. Kind of bouncing off of that, before my senior year, I sat down with Coach Pope. He was an assistant while I was there, and he helped me put together a shooting workout that was the toughest shooting workout I had ever done. And it took me 2 hours to get through. And there were mornings that it was painful to be in the gym, knowing what I had to do and get done in those 2 hours. But it's just being disciplined to get up and get moving. And no matter how your body feels, you were still going to put in the work. And I think those are the pieces that help me be successful.
Couple more questions with Tyler Haas tonight on the Wise Guys. You're also number 1 in school history in minutes played, 4,427. So you were in the game a lot, managed to stay in there, tied for 9th with 138 steals. So those who said you only scored and didn't play defense, that supports that notion. Congratulations. But in a free throw shooting contest between you and, say, Jimmer Fredette, who wins? Let's say you're shooting 30. Who wins?
It'd be close, no doubt.
And
you beat him in free throws, though, right? I took Dave asked me this earlier. I'm like, I'm taking Tyler on free throws.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do have a better percentage than Jimmer.
So is that a yes? You take him at the line? Now, when we get him on the show, we'll ask him about maybe the three-point line. So
if Jimmer comes, if we just put 5 racks of balls, I'll staggered along the 3-point line, I'm like, it would still be close, but I might take Jimmer in that. But I'm absolutely taking you on the free throw line. Am I wrong in those two choices?
No, I mean, the mid-range and the free throw line area, that's my bread and butter right there.
All right, so that's a yes. That's a yes.
I'll own that, Dave.
You're better than Jimmer on that one.
Yep.
All right, now remove Jimmer and add your brother TJ and your dad Marty into that free throw shooting contest. Who wins that?
Oh, yeah, me, no doubt.
Really?
I love that.
No hesitation when it came to family. Notice with Jimmer, he was kind of like, I don't know if I want to make Jimmer mad.
Right.
Dad and brother, forget it. We'll just go right for the.
Yep. No, he's got those guys, no problem. So what was TJ's greatest skill?
Yeah, Tej, I think one of his greatest strengths was always his confidence. From the moment he could pick up a ball, I mean, I'm 4.5 years older than Tej. And so, he was always the little dude running around acting like he belonged, right? 6th, 7th grade, we started to play on some competitive teams, and Tej was in 1st or 2nd grade and not afraid to jump in and practice, and, got used to playing with older kids, and he was just always felt like he belonged. and super confident. And I think that carried him through his whole career. But our games are so different. Tej is a lot better. I mean, I'll give him this. He's a lot better ball handler than me, and a lot smoother with the ball, more comfortable in ball screen situations. And I mean, had some very, very special games his senior year, just in the ball screen, just making good decisions. And but I would say his confidence for sure.
That's awesome. Here's the funny thing, because we talk to coaches at the shoot arounds, to opposing coaches. And when we used to talk to them about you, they'd be like, dude is just relentless. Like, he just wears you down. Like, he's going to run you off a million screens and catch and shoot, and he's going to get to the free throw. He's going to wear you down. He's just relentless. That's what they would say about you, which is a great compliment, right? And then when we talked to him about TJ, they would say, we cannot stay in front of that guy. Can't stay in front of him. And it drives us nuts because he's breaking our defense down with the ball in his hand, and now we're in rotations, and he's finding the guy or he's scoring, and no matter what we do, nobody on our team can stay in front of him, which is really a cool thing too. Very different games, both unbelievably successful, and what a great family tradition you guys have here with your dad as well. Your dad played back when I was around, and people couldn't get in front of him because he was so blazingly fast with the ball in his hands. So fun family traditions, right?
No, it's I mean, awesome. Thanks for saying all that. We grew up just in a basketball house. My grandpa too, I mean, from a very young age was, I mean, so involved with games and practices. And hey, Ty, you get 20 rebounds today. I've got a $20 bill for you. Stuff like that.
Nice.
You know?
I like that.
We just grew up loving the game, and fortunate to really have my dad around. My dad just a wealth of knowledge that really helped Tej and I grow into our bodies and our game. And a lot of our success is owed to him.
Yeah. Last question before Blaine hits you up with 5 quick ones. The current Cougars, 3-1. They're down there in the Bahamas. Play USC tomorrow afternoon in the battle for Atlantis, and either Tennessee or Butler on Thursday, and then we'll get a third game on Friday. What do you make of this group, and how different are they going to be from the group we see, say, mid-February?
Yeah, this group is really interesting. I think they're working through some growing pains right now. They're trying to play fast, but obviously with that comes a different style of game, lots of turnovers. I mean, their decision making hasn't been what it needs to be, but they have some really talented pieces. We've seen some. I mean, listen, you don't go into Viejas Arena and go up 6 with 5 minutes left if you're not a good team. I mean, they're very capable of putting together a great season. I feel like they've kind of played to the level of their competition, right? In each of these games so far. But as long as they keep getting better and keep growing, and the leaders on the team continue to grow into their roles, like I think Rudy Williams needs to play a little bit better, and need to see some more out of him. He needs to develop into a better role. But we've seen great things out of Spencer Johnson, and Gideon George is coming along. Atiki's been awesome so far. We've seen good things out of Foose. I don't mean to harp on only Rudy. We've seen good things out of Rudy too. Love his pace and how fast he's trying to play. Like, that's something in my mind that I feel like has been, I've missed that the last couple of years, just because personnel, they've played a slower pace. Yeah. And we always played super fast, get the ball out, race it up. If you have a good look, let it fly. And so I think, to answer your question, like, come February, I think we're going to see a much more seasoned team that takes care of the ball and understands, what's a good shot, what's not a good shot, when the right time to attack is. I feel like there's sometimes we've seen so far where guys are trying to force things one-on-one too much. The ball swung around a little bit, and they're trying to establish themselves and, find their rhythm and find their role on the team. But I think all of those kinks will be worked out, and, hopefully they can put together a good year.
A question for you on the turnovers, Tyler. So, we've always had kind of 12 as a benchmark. Keep 12 and under. And you're in pretty good company nationally. Most would agree with that. I know San Diego State, like Dutch, he's a good friend of mine. He just likes them to have 12 or under. That's always their goal. Is that too much to ask when they're trying to play at this pace? Is there, should we be maybe expecting 15 when they get this thing dialed? What's a good number for a goal for turnovers? Because this team's been 20 plus consistently, and we know that's too much.
Yeah. No, I would say 12 is a good goal. I mean, really, most teams are shooting for 10 and under, right? But if you can stay under 12, and there's some passes and some drives that I can live with. I'm like, hey, he's being aggressive there. He's trying to make something happen. We'll live with it. But yeah, there's been some silly passes that just some bad decisions that they've got to work through and figure out. You got to figure out how to play fast. And, I say that tongue in cheek because for sure, there were some games when I was there where we had 20 plus turnovers. But it's part of it sometimes, but it's hard to win against good teams when you turn it over that much.
Right.
And especially when teams want to slow it down too. You get into conference, Gonzaga and St. Mary's, they will slow it down on you. And so, yeah, you got to pick your moments to play fast and get out and transition. But you also have to know when, okay, they're back. We're not going to get something. Let's get into our motion offense, right?
So 12 is the number. We're going to go 12.
We're going to hold the guys to 12. All right, 5 quick questions. We'll let you get back to your family. We sure appreciate you being with us on the Wise Guys. And, of course, you're with us all season long on BYU TV, and we have a good time.
Yep, game day.
You ready? These are the most
and
important 5 answers of the night.
That's right. And you can't even think about it. You just got to answer them fast. That's how it goes.
All right.
So favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie is Rudy.
That's our second Rudy of the night.
Do you know that, Ben Cahoon, all-time leading receiver in CFL history, Rudy's his favorite.
Wow.
So,
hey,
former BYU wide receiver. Favorite band or singer?
Favorite band or singer? I love REO Speedwagon.
Man,
it's old school right there.
Early 80s.
Tyler's like old school guy.
You don't need to tell us what era. We all know REO Speedwagon.
Any longer,
those guys are.
Yet I'm still
those are classic. I saw them
in
in concert a couple times, and they're even in these later years, they're just so entertaining and fun.
They still. You have sometimes bands when they get older, like the voices aren't quite as good. Oh no, REO Speedwagon. If you go listen to them right now, they sound just like they did.
Kevin
in the 80s.
Cronin can still get it done.
They can still get it done. And maybe
excellent choice.
They maybe didn't do as many drugs as some of the other bands in the 80s, and that's why they can still do it.
I think so. Hopefully that's the case.
Okay, favorite breakfast cereal?
Favorite breakfast cereal is probably Bunches of Oats right now.
Honey Bunches of Oats?
Honey Bunches of Oats.
Okay,
I'm going to sit down and have a bowl of cereal. That's what it is.
And see, that's okay because just Bunches of Oats is no good but the Honey Bunches of Oats are actually like dipped in sugar honey, which is
Bunches of Oats. That's the way you feed a horse.
Yeah. So honey
bunches of oats, that's different.
Just so you know, we mock anybody that doesn't even eat a sugar-coated cereal on this show. So
it's part of who we are.
Dave likes Captain Crunch, not with Crunch Berries, just plain old
straight.
Captain Crunch,
I like them straight.
Which they take those little crunch things and they dip them completely in sugar. So,
favorite BYU moment.
Favorite BYU moment. I think. I've got 2.
Okay,
can I say 2?
Yeah, give us both.
You say 2.
One was my senior year. We won at Gonzaga on their senior night. That was a very special moment.
What were they ranked? What were they ranked at the time?
I think they were. I want to say they were top 5.
2 or 3, maybe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just a huge win.
They hate BYU because we're the only ones that beat them at their place.
That's right.
They hate that.
But my freshman year, there were a couple of moments that were, looking back, were just really special with Coach Rose because he, I didn't even know that if he was going to be able to coach that year, because he had just found out he had cancer. And, you know, we had a moment during the coaches versus cancer game against Utah, wore pink. There was that locker room after was very special. But beating Florida in the first round was another moment where there was a lot leading up to that and a lot of emotion for Coach. The team meeting the night before was very emotional, like on the verge of tears, like, you know, we can do this thing and we deserve this. And it was just really, really cool to be a part of, when you pour all of your heart and emotion into your team and winning. And, you know, it was just really cool.
And there's nobody tougher than Coach Rose that we know.
No, we talked to him the other night. Yeah.
So, okay, favorite lesson you learned from your dad?
Number 5.
Favorite lesson.
You thought these were going to be easy. These aren't just bubblegum questions. These are.
Yeah, they're making me think. I mean, probably just consistent hard work. He just taught me to be disciplined, and never pushed me to, you know, was never yanking me out of bed to get to the gym, but instilled in me some discipline. And, you know, his rule was, hey, I'll come rebound for you, but you've got to get me up. So I had to get him up from a young age, and, you know, it instilled a good work ethic in me. So I'll take that.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
The great Tyler Haws, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We will see you on BYU TV next Tuesday as the Cougars go up to Vivint Arena.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be fun.
You're going to be in studio in Provo, right?
Yeah, I think we'll be in studio.
But you live in Salt Lake.
No, I live in Lehigh.
Oh, I knew you were north. I was thinking you were over the point. So you're just in Lehigh. Okay, so we'll pass by your house and we'll drive to Vivint, and then you can come down here closer to where we live.
There we go.
Hey, you're doing a great job. We're happy to be colleagues with you and friends, and we sure thank you for your time. And say hi to your wife and kids, and we'll see you next week.
I will. No, hey, thanks so much for having me on. Look up to both of you guys. You guys are legends in the broadcasting industry, so it's an honor for me to work alongside you. And yeah, congrats on all you're doing on the show. And really, it's a pleasure to be on. Thanks so much for having me.
We're going to extend this interview now, so go ahead and keep saying good things. No, we're going to wrap it up. Okay.
Tyler, you're the best. You know, we love being around you. Your energy is awesome. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah. Sounds good, guys.
Thanks,
all right,
Tyler.
the great Tyler Haws. Number 1 scorer. Of all the scores at BYU, no one scored more points than Tyler Haws. Isn't that?
I mean, think about
awesome.
the players that have been through this program. That's the guy right
Think
there.
of the guys we had on the show tonight.
Yeah.
All-time leading receiver up until recently, and Hall of Famer in the Canadian Football League.
And by the way, you and I are going to take care of that. I'm going to reach out to Montreal and say, Ben's up for this. Ben's
Look,
wife,
the wise
Kim,
guys has an idea.
Ben's wife, Kim, supports this. How about we do some big promotion around this? He comes back, you throw him 3 screens, he takes over the all-time lead, and then he gets out of the game before he gets hurt.
Fantastic.
And I think you and I will travel up for that.
I think we should. I think we should try to let's look into that.
Let's see if we can do this next
It's too
season.
easy
That'd
to pass.
Be so fun.
All right, let's get a couple of headlines in, and we'll finish up with our day in history and our football picks in the final few minutes of what has been an awesome Wise Guys. Earlier today, by the way, Vegas was awarded the Final Four in 2020.
Right.
Jerry Tarkanian has turned in his grave. It's going to be at Allegiant Stadium, which is going to be, let's be honest, a horrible place to watch a basketball game because it is so
It's just too big. It's too
But
big.
that's where it's going in 2020.
But that's how they do it now. So it's not any worse than any of the other
The
places
Superdome or any of that
yeah,
stuff.
But I
But
think
it's cool. Cool that's going to Vegas. College football playoff pull out tonight. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, then LSU, then USC. We'll see what happens down the stretch.
Yeah.
It's a big
Hey,
weekend.
I'm rooting for TCU to be in that thing. Come on, we got to.
Yeah, why not?
We're rooting for.
Would we get any of their money? Would we get any of their money?
Well, no, not this year.
Because we're going to be, because you remember the payouts are like stagnated.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we get some of it. Hey,
be
here's
nice.
the thing. League loyalty now. I'm all into the Big 12 now. It's all about league loyalty. So,
Couple of notes. BYU routed Utah Tech. We know that. Jaron Hall had a career day. We know that 456 yards. And they're getting ready for Stanford on Saturday night. We've been talking about that. Women's volleyball coming up here in about 10 minutes.
Yep. Number 2, San Diego State at number 17, BYU. Down in the Smith Fieldhouse. Going to be on ESPNU. USD swept the Cougars in San Diego.
Yeah, they're legit.
So no, they're really good. So
that place will be rocking.
Yep. And the men's hoops, of course, in the battle for Atlantis, you and I volunteered to go cover that. Nobody took us up on it.
And we're still here tonight.
So tomorrow, BYU against USC, 5 p.m. Eastern.
ESPN2.
Yeah.
So
is it ESPN2?
Yeah.
That's right, 3 p.m. Mountain on ESPN2. And then Thursday, they'll have either Tennessee or Butler. We don't know the game time yet. It depends on what happens tomorrow. Friday is to be determined as well. But what a lot of great teams in that tournament, and hopefully they're having some fun back there and bring home some wins.
Women's hoops are going to host Carroll College tomorrow, 4 Eastern, 2 Mountain on the BYU TV app.
Yep.
They'll host Ball State Saturday at 4 Eastern, 2 Mountain on BYU TV. I'll be on the call for that one with Kristen Kozlowski because Spencer is at Stanford.
And Kristen's awesome.
Anchoring our coverage there. Cougs 1-4. Lauren Gustin averaging 15 points and 15 rebounds. We do want to congratulate Amber Whiting. She picked up her first win last week at the North Shore Showcase, beat Washington State on her birthday over there in La EA. Number one of many in the victory column. So happy,
and she landed
belated.
A top 25 recruiting class just in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
She's got some firepower coming.
Women's soccer NCAA recap. They defeated Stanford 5-4 in penalty kicks.
That was nice.
On Thursday to get to the Sweet 16, which is pretty awesome. Back-to-back Sweet 16s. Ellie Mon had the decisive goal. But then in the Elite Eight, North Carolina beat BYU on their home turf, of course.
3-2. That was a tough
3-2. So they wrap up the season with an 11-3 record, 7 ties.
So championship game last year, they lose all their firing power, come back, make the Sweet 16 this year, and everybody's back next year.
Oh, yeah. They're a preseason top 10 team next year, and I think they're right back competing for an Elite Eight and maybe a national championship again next year.
Speaking of top 10, cross country, the BYU men finished number 3. Women finished number 8 in the nation. Congratulations.
Top 10 finishes again for both programs. Men had a chance at a championship there. Their big rival, NAU, won it this year.
It's Thanksgiving week. There's some huge football games, which is so
Your picks?
much fun. Last week I went 5-0, and you went. You didn't go 5-0. Slipped by a little bit.
What did I go? 4-1.
We
only had one different.
I think we had 2 different.
Did we? Because I just voted with my heart.
Because I went with Arkansas, and you went with
that's
Ole
right.
Miss,
Yeah.
and then we both went with Oregon.
Yeah.
We had another one, but anyway, that one is. I've almost clinched the title, but that's beside the point.
Okay.
Here comes some games this week that could turn things. Mississippi State at Ole Miss. Did you hear Lane Kiffin might be the rumor was he was going to leave Ole Miss to take the Auburn job?
What in the
That's
world?
been kicked around.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means for Jackson Dart.
Do you think that they're going to be a little distracted? Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to.
Mississippi State comes in and throws the ball for a bazillion
Ole Miss got
yards.
killed last week, didn't they?
They weren't good, but I say they're going to have a bounce back and win at home.
Okay, I'm going to go Mississippi State and go with Mike Leach. So you're going Ole Miss. North Carolina State at North Carolina. These are 2 ranked teams.
Yeah. I'm saying I like Mac Brown. See, here's my thing where North Carolina State probably wins, but I just like Mac Brown, so I'm going
North Carolina on the home turf.
Yep.
Florida at Florida State.
Florida State. I'm taking Florida State at home, and Florida's floundered. That's Utah's big win or big loss. Florida.
Yeah. Oregon at Oregon State. This is a tricky one.
It's hard because they just beat Utah on their home field with a one-legged quarterback and 3 offensive linemen out. And how is it that Utah in all their big games never plays a 100% healthy quarterback?
They just get lucky.
But they had to muster every bit of energy they could possibly. I still think they go and win at Oregon State.
I'm going Oregon State.
And Oregon State's good this year. They're good.
Washington at Washington State.
I think Washington is for real. I'm going Washington.
I'm too on that one. Michigan, Ohio State, the big one.
I want Michigan, but I think Ohio State's going to win.
The line of scrimmage is going to decide it again, like last year. But the Buckeyes are home.
I want Michigan. Just for the record, I'm rooting for Michigan, but I think Ohio State's going to win.
Notre Dame at USC.
USC is going to score like 100.
I'm going to go USC too, but that one's going to be a little interesting. Notre Dame's playing good.
Yeah, they won 44-zip last week.
And then the week before that, they throttled Clemson.
Yeah, for those of you that think that BYU, like that was the game BYU should have won, and Notre Dame's got a lot of talent. That's what BYU's capable of. When their assignment's down, they're pretty good against Notre Dame. Couldn't stop their tight end, but guess what? Nobody can stop their tight end.
Those are our picks. Cougars in the NFL. Thanksgiving, Jamal Williams will be front and center on national TV with the Bills at the Lions. He's up to 12
Yeah, he leads
rushing
the
touchdowns.
NFL in rushing touchdowns.
I'm putting him in my fantasy roster. I'm putting him in the lineup this week.
And the best dancing. So I love Jamal Williams, and the way he represents BYU. It's pretty fun. Okay, how about Sunday? The Bucks and the Browns. Sione Takitaki's having a great season at linebacker for the Browns.
Bears at Jets. I hope Zach can win just to calm things down there.
People just relax.
You're the Jets.
We were talking about this earlier. The Bills used to be the Bills, and Josh Allen comes in, and he was the worst completion percentage in the National Football League for 2 years. And they weren't like Jets fans. We're like, gotta get rid of this guy. Zach Wilson's playing better than Josh Allen played for 2 years, and he's going to get better.
And let the Jets put the kind of players the Bills put around Josh Allen.
If you surround Zach with the talent that the Bills surrounded Josh with, I'm not saying he's Josh, because Josh, one of the best 3 guys in the league. But Zach Wilson will be a very good quarterback. Please stop it, Jets fans. That's why nobody likes you.
And Zach, let's have a good game Sunday.
Yeah, so come on, Zach.
You're playing the Bears.
And
Beat
how
the Bears.
about our guy Tyler Algier with the Falcons and how well he is playing? He's playing great right now at the Commanders with Dax Milne.
Yeah, 2 old buddies, old teammates back together. Brady Christensen and the Panthers host the Broncos.
And then the Chargers with both Kyle Van Noy and Michael Davis on that defense are at the Cardinals.
What a game with the Chiefs the other night.
Yeah, it was
what a load you had Van Noy trying to deal with Mahomes.
Oh, man. So
Taysom Hill and Danny Sorensen, the Saints, are at the 49ers, so they'll reunite with Fred Warner. David Nixon's going to be down there. He's going to interview Taysom after the game, and we'll have it on BYU Sports Nation next week. So that's the Cougars in the NFL. This day in history on November 22nd.
Yep. In 1930, the first football game was broadcast to England. Harvard beat Yale 13-0.
So the Brits were like, what are the Americans doing? And here comes a football broadcast.
Football. I used to cover the Ivy League for NBC back in the day, and it was actually really cool football because it was all about just playing because they love it, because it was not big time.
1934 on this day. Santa Claus is Coming to Town is first heard on the Eddie Cantor Show.
1934.
We all know the words.
Okay, 1963 on this day, President John F. Kennedy is assassinated in Dallas by Lee Harvey Oswald.
And also Lyndon B. Johnson sworn in as president after the assassination.
Man. In 1968, the Beatles released the White Album.
A few hits on that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
1986, Mike Tyson beats Trevor Berbick in Vegas to become the youngest heavyweight champion in the world, 20 years old.
And you covered big time
I
boxing
covered a lot
in
of his
Vegas
fights.
during those years.
Those
Those were fun. 1995, Toy Story is released in theaters and changes the game in animated or whatever Pixar-type films. Unbelievable.
How cool was Buzz Lightyear? He still is cool.
And Woody.
And Woody and the
Played
whole
by Tom
group.
Hanks. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Birthdays today, 1856, Heber J. Grant, 7th president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And in 1921, nobody gave him any respect then. Nobody gave him any respect later. Rodney Dangerfield, 1921.
1943, Billie Jean King, tennis star.
1958, Jamie Lee Curtis.
1967, Mark Ruffalo, the Hulk.
Yep. 1984, I can't even believe she's that young. Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow.
If you had to have someone come save you, would you take the Hulk or the Black Widow?
I want Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, I would take the Black Widow too. I'd take my chances. Deaths today, 1718, Blackbeard the pirate.
The real pirate Blackbeard.
1718 was.
1963, C.S. Lewis.
About that.
Great author.
And of course, as mentioned, 1963, President John F. Kennedy on this day.
So.
All right, for our Lavelle quote, we have, during my interview with athletic director Tom Homo on BYU's final games as an independent before joining the Big 12, he said this about the blueprint he followed throughout his 12-year journey of independence.
Yeah, he said, we tried to build the program on the core principles that Lavelle taught us, the mission of the school, and tried to do it right, Homo said. We failed sometimes in those respects, but in the end, we did it well enough to get the invite.
Lavelle's influence lives on in so many ways, including in membership in the Big 12.
Right on.
That's cool. Caleb Chapman's here ready to perform Rise and Shout after BYU has locked up their 17th bowl game in 18 years by defeating Utah Tech. It's short, powerful, enjoyable. Here it is. Every time we play that, you're just sitting there grooving right along.
Yeah, because Caleb can just play it. He just brings so much soul.
We thought Brendan Campbell would play Rise and Shout on his bass guitar.
Next
I think
time.
he's working on that.
Next time. He got delayed and had to come kind of late, so he didn't get to bring in the guitar, but he's going to do it for us at some point.
Thank you for watching The Wise Guys. The podcast will be up tomorrow. Share it with your friends throughout the Thanksgiving holiday. We're back next week. It'll be a little different for us because we're going to be calling a basketball game.
Yep.
But the podcast will roll on as normal, and we'll be here to talk about the Stanford game. And then we're up, and you can get us anytime at wisguys.com and YouTube and Twitch. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Same to you. Hope you guys eat. You can eat lots of turkey on Thursday, but don't eat it Saturday. We need you awake for that Stanford game.
We will see you Saturday night on game day and again next week. Have a great Thanksgiving week.
Good
Thanks,
night,
everybody.
everybody.